The idea for the Weave It project came out of my Put a Lid on It project that I did with McDonald Elementary 3 years ago. That was a project where we took bottle caps and repurposed them into a pointillism mural. Today that mural hangs in McDonald Elementary. The Weave It project comes from t-shirts and making t-shirt yarn and then weaving those into individual squares and then taking and putting them into the piece that you see behind me, which is 7 squares, 7 classroom squares.
Projects like this are fabulous for teamwork and collaboration, and we're always trying to get the kids to be more collaborative and work together with others and be accepting and kind and all of those things.
I like the fact that the kids were able to use their hands. We just talked about visual learning and auditory learning and kinesthetic in our classroom in regard to math, and this was a great turnover to that. I've got a lot of kids that aren't good at drawing, but they were successful with moving and doing something that was different than just drawing pictures.
I enjoy doing these projects because it's a lot of fun and we always get to create something very interesting and very cool.
It's good to do this all the way throughout your school career because then you get to just have fun at school and
I'm actually
look
doing
forward to going to school.
Lily,
You did it!
The idea for the project came from the idea of upcycling. Not only upcycling, but collaborating. And I brought the idea to Mrs. Anderson, who's my master teacher, and she said, that sounds like an awesome idea. Let's take it to our team. So the team of 7 teachers here at Liberty Lake Elementary said, yes, let's give it a go and see what the kids do. So our first mission was to have the kids collect the t-shirts. And so everyone brought in a t-shirt, and then we asked for parent volunteers, and we had a wonderful group of volunteers that helped us cut the t-shirts up into t-shirt yarn. The next step then was for us to each class loom the squares. And oh my goodness, what a project that was. So in each class we had 28 or 29 students. Each of them had the opportunity to weave their own square. Some of them caught on right away and lickety-split, their square was done. Some, it was a labor of major frustration. I think I even had one person who took 4 tries to get their square complete and get it right. But persistence won the day, and their square is now displayed amongst all the other squares. And I'll tell you, that young person was so proud that they stayed with it and had the grit to be able to see the project through. At the very least, I think every person, every student has a higher appreciation for what it takes to make something with your hands. The kids at the beginning of the year studied colonial America. In fact, they're still working into the Revolution right now. I remember one of our lesson plans talked about clothing and how the colonial Americans got their clothing. Well, it started with raising sheep, and of course then you had to shear the sheep and card the wool and spin it into yarn, and then you wove that yarn into material, and holy moly, it was not just a one-person job. So we had that to use as a connection. The other thing we did was read The Keeping Quilt by Patricia Polacco. And in The Keeping Quilt, it really talked about the quilt that came from Patricia's ancestors. And it was several people who contributed pieces of their own clothing to the making of this quilt. And that quilt was handed down from generation to generation. That too was a connection to this project, because the hope is that what we have behind us now hanging on the wall is a legacy that these students can come back to.
Well, first of all, I think it was just a great idea to have the kids bring their own t-shirts. So it was something that they owned. It's something that was a piece of them, and they picked out something that they thought would be fun, and then they're adding it into this whole group. And it's not so much just about them personally, but it's about the whole group, and how in a community, that's how communities work. And we need to come together as a community to create something beautiful.
I appreciate how it includes all of my kids. I have some kids that feel frustrated with art, and I have an extended resource room student for only 35 minutes a day, and my kids were able to pair up with her, and they would take her hand and her fingers and help her so that she could have a finished project. And the kids were working with each other, they were helping each other, they were having fun.
From the art standpoint, it is a craft. Weaving is a craft, and there are many, many things to consider artistically when you're weaving. Just like in any art project, you have the principles of art and design that come into play, and this is just a collaborative type of project that really gives the students an exposure to those principles in art and design.
We often are doing so much paper pencil type thing, and we don't get into such tactile or kinesthetic work, and we don't hit all the multiple intelligences all the time. And so this is great when somebody can come in like Kristen Plaisance and show her side of the talents of art and art in the classroom. We want the well-rounded child always, so anytime they can work with this. I had one young man come up after we did the project to ask if he could get the specifications to build the template for the loom because he wanted to do it at home. And when you can incite a little bit of a passion for something different in kids, it's fabulous.
I enjoyed this because it was something we got to do out of school that will be like a memory that will always be in the school for us.
I enjoyed putting it together from the start of it till that. The first part where we had to do the stuff and all that is kind of difficult until I kind of got it, and then it kind of went quickly for the big square to go.
I learned that it's good to work together on things. I liked when we all got to sew it together, and when it came together, it looked really cool.
I like the colors and the diversity it represents within the classrooms, within all things, and I like that it represents a true physical nature of coming together. You have 5 separate or 6 separate squares, and they're coming together to create a gift that they're able to leave this school and a legacy that they can be proud of.
My overall enjoyment in this was that we did it together.
We'd just like to thank Kristen Plaisance for coming to our school and taking the time to do this. This is something the kids will take with them forever. They'll remember.
The very first group of people I want to thank are the teachers that I have worked with in the 5th grade team. You have been supportive of me from the first day I walked into your building as your student teacher. And I want to thank the parents of the kids who were supportive of this project, whether it was cutting the t-shirts up into t-shirt yarn and just going with the flow, even though part of that process was a little uncomfortable because you couldn't necessarily see where you were going with the cutting. And certainly I want to thank the parents for help us sew the squares together. You were willing to get down on the floor and grapple with how is the best way to sew these pieces together. Thank you so much. And most of all, I want to thank the students. Without you being curious and willing, it was just absolutely awesome. Without you having the persistence, the intestinal fortitude to continue to pursue, we wouldn't have what we have to look at today. Ultimately, I also want to thank Jen Teskey for giving us permission to do this as a project and to be able to prominently display it here in the commons area where kids can see it every day that they're in school.
I think it builds confidence because, like, if you do it, you have more confidence in yourself.
I really did like this because it's like your own little piece, like because everybody is unique. So I think that like Miss Plaisance wanted to like have everybody have like their own unique squares.
When I first started this, I really thought I couldn't do it at all. But then I started getting the hang of it, and now I'm close to getting finished.
You have to get used to it, and then when you get the hang of it, it gets really fun.
I like doing crafts and stuff because they're fun and they usually end up really pretty and you can be proud of them.
We're here gathered to do a couple of things, and the first thing that I want to be in charge of is helping us say thank you to Mrs. Plaisance for her expertise, her time, and and efforts to leave something lasting at our school. So I know at dance recitals you give flowers. I don't know what you do at an art unveiling, so we have flowers. So let's say thank you and then clap for Mrs. Plaisance. So one,
Thank you, Liberty Lake Elementary 5th graders, for the fantastically, fabulously awesome time. I hope that you were able to take something from this project, something that you can carry with you forever, whether it's a love of weaving, that'd be fantastic, right? Or whether it's just that, hey man, I've got to try new things, you never know what you might grab onto and love, and whether it was difficult and you finally found the perseverance to see it through. Those are some of the things that I hope you might get from the project. Thank you again. Let's just weave it.